Today we're going to talk about positive reinforcement, and in front of me I have a teacher who works in a preschool classroom and uses this point quite frequently. As a teacher, how important is positive reinforcement in your classroom?
Well, positive reinforcement is super important because every child comes into the classroom with different behaviors, at different places academically, and so in order to really encourage and promote learning and appropriate behavior in a classroom setting, we really need to use positive reinforcement to shape behaviors and to shape academic success.
Okay, so how exactly would you explain positive reinforcement for someone who may not even know what it means?
Well, positive reinforcement basically is the presentation of a stimulus or a desired or preferred item. It could be a food, it could be candy, it could be anything that someone wants, that basically, if an appropriate behavior is taken, immediately after that behavior you provide that stimulus. So an example would be like working with a dog. When you're trying to train a dog how to sit, you can sit there for 2 hours and try to get it to sit, but if you provide a dog bone and give that dog bone as soon as you get it to sit, then it's more likely that that behavior will continue. And so it's really a part of all of our lives. As adults, don't work for no reason at all, but they work for a paycheck, and that's their reinforcement for going to work every day. So it's really a part of all of our lives, and we're just really specifically focusing on that in a classroom setting where we see children and we're challenging them. And so we really want to use that positive reinforcement to help them succeed in the goals that we have for them.
Okay, that's great. You talked about this reinforcement. Can you maybe explain some types of reinforcement for the children in your classroom?
Sure, yeah. I mean, we could use all types of reinforcement. An edible, which would be a primary reinforcement, a food or an edible, maybe reinforcing to a child, or a particular toy, or an opportunity or access to something, to a special room, or to be the line leader, or really anything that a kid finds motivating or desirable. That thing, that environment, or that condition would be something that could be positively reinforcing.
Okay. Can you maybe sum it all up in what are some top 2 rules for positive reinforcement?
The top 2 rules for positive reinforcement is, first, the toy or whatever it is, the thing has to be reinforcing. So, for example, if you are asking a child to tell the alphabet, and they start telling the alphabet, and so they're either going to comply or they're not, and afterwards you give them, oh, this is Pooh Bear. Great job for telling me the alphabet. This is Pooh Bear. You get to play with him. And they don't like Pooh Bear, then the next time you ask them to tell you the alphabet, they might not tell you. But if you have this really cool toy that they really like, and after you tell them to share with you the alphabet, and you give them this toy, which is so much cooler, they might tell you the next time because they really like that toy, for example. So the first rule is that with positive reinforcement is that you have to know, or you have to find out what a child really wants. And so you can do that by just offering, saying, hey, what would you like? Or maybe you already know because you've seen a child's preference towards a specific toy. So that would be the first rule of positive reinforcement. And secondly is that it has to be immediate. So if you ask a child to sit down, and they sit down, but then 3 minutes later you say, oh, you get a piece of candy for sitting down, they might not make that connection. So the reinforcement really needs to be immediate after the behavior has occurred for the likelihood of that behavior to increase.
Okay. So practically speaking, can we talk about some do's and don'ts? Maybe first we can start with what are some don'ts of positive reinforcement?
Well, the first don't of positive reinforcement would be bribery. So it would actually be the opposite of positive reinforcement. So you would say, I'm going to give you this toy, and you will do this afterwards. Or I'll give you this candy, but then you have to go up to the bathroom and brush your teeth before bed. And so that would be bribery. You're trying to encourage an action by first giving them reinforcement. And that's really exactly the opposite. So that's definitely a don't that you would not want to do. Also, like I said earlier, a delayed reinforcement is not going to be effective. It needs to be immediate. So the child knows why they're getting the reinforcement that they're getting. Another reason is if it's vague. So, for instance, if you're not specifically letting a child know why they're being reinforced, and it's vague, then it's unlikely that behavior will occur again. For example, oh, you did such a good job, you're just so great, I'm just going to give you this. A child may not understand why they're getting what they're getting, and that's not going to help in shaping their behaviors. So we need to be thinking those things through critically when we're deciding how to reinforce children.
Okay. So let's talk about some practical do's of using positive reinforcement.
Well, first, obviously, it's going to be consistency. And that could be, in a classroom setting, you're going to want to be consistent with reinforcement. If you stop reinforcing a kid and you expect the behavior to continue, it probably won't. And likewise, it needs to be consistent across environments as well. So at home is a great opportunity for parents to also use positive reinforcement for their children and to promote learning and appropriate behaviors. So definitely consistency. And verbal praise is really important to children, and knowing that what they're doing is great and that it's significant. But the important thing about verbal praise is that it really needs to be genuine and heartfelt. And that's not always easy for us because we may not feel that what a child is doing is so great. But we need to think about that and realize that they are important and what they're doing is great, and so we need to have a genuine heart praise towards that child. That is awesome, you did such a great job, as compared to good job, way to go. You know, we really need to have a verbal praise that actually has a heartfelt praise behind it for it to be reinforcing. And so also, in shaping behaviors, providing alternatives, what you would call redirection, is also important. So basically, what you're doing is, if a child is having an inappropriate behavior, like throwing a toy, you would redirect them towards playing with a certain toy, maybe showing them how to play with that toy appropriately. So that's a redirection to where actually they're being positively reinforced because they're finding a way to play with a toy in a fashion that's reinforcing to them, and they're basically not continuing in a negative behavior anymore. And so redirection is great. And another do that goes along with the whole philosophy of positive reinforcement would be to use a no alternative. Because no, and first of all, we never want to use a no that is in you're bad. No, bad. Like that kind of no is never really appropriate, especially in an educational setting. So we really want to use a no that's, no, that's not it, or no, try again. But we could also use a no alternative, such as try again, or almost, or let's try it another way. And so that's less discouraging to a child, and also gives them the expectation of getting the reinforcement for an appropriate behavior.
Great. Well, I really feel like I've learned a lot about positive reinforcement. I really appreciate you coming and giving me your time, and thanks a lot.
Oh, you're welcome.